Far away in the Pacific Ocean lies Easter Island, home to nearly 1,000 massive stone figures known as the Moai. For centuries, these silent giants have stood as guardians of mystery. Who built them? Why were they made? And perhaps the biggest question of all, what secrets are they still hiding? Today, we'll explore the top 5 shocking theories about the Moai statues that continue to baffle archaeologists, historians, and even conspiracy theorists around the world. Before we dive into these shocking theories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon, so you won't miss our weekly journeys into the mysteries of the ancient world. Now, let's begin. Theory 1. The Ancestors' Watchful Eyes. Among the many theories surrounding the Moai, perhaps the most widely accepted yet still deeply mysterious is that these giant statues were built to honor and embody the spirits of the ancestors. For the Rapa Nui people, ancestry was not just history, it was living power. They believed in a sacred energy known as mana, a spiritual force that flowed through chiefs, priests, and, most importantly, their ancestors. The Moai, carved from volcanic rock, were thought to serve as vessels of this energy. In other words, the statues were not simply representations of the dead. They were the ancestors, standing eternal, guarding their descendants. One detail often overlooked is the eyes of the Moai. Originally, these massive heads did not remain hollow. When a statue was completed and raised onto its platform, the sockets were fitted with white coral and red stone pupils. It was this act, the placement of the eyes, that symbolically activated the statue. At that moment, the Moai was believed to awaken, to see, and to channel spiritual power over the land and the people. And the placement of the statues is no accident. While some face the sea, the overwhelming majority of Moai look inland, toward the villages. Imagine walking through your settlement and feeling the gaze of these stone ancestors fixed upon you, reminding you of your roots, guiding your actions, and silently demanding respect. Each Moai was tied to a specific clan, a lineage, a chief. They were guardians, witnesses, and silent judges. But this belief raises haunting questions. What happened when rival clans toppled the statues of their enemies? Did destroying a Moai mean stripping a community of its ancestral protection, leaving them spiritually vulnerable? Some oral traditions suggest that the fall of a Moai was not just a physical loss, it was a devastating blow to a people's very identity and sense of security. Archaeologists have uncovered clues that support this idea. Certain platforms, or athu, were carefully aligned with astronomical markers, suggesting that the Moai also held cosmic significance. Perhaps the ancestors were not only protecting their descendants, but also maintaining a spiritual connection between the earth and the heavens. So when we look at the Moai today, many weathered, many toppled, some half-buried, we aren't just seeing stone. We may be witnessing the remnants of a once-living spiritual system, where the dead continued to walk among the living. The Rapa Nui didn't simply remember their ancestors. They gave them bodies of stone and placed them where their watchful eyes would never fade. Theory 2. The Giants of Easter Island. Legends often blur the line between myth and history, and on Easter Island, one such legend has given rise to one of the most shocking theories about the Moai, that they were not created by ordinary humans at all, but by giants. For centuries, oral traditions have spoken of a race of beings known as the Hanaip, sometimes described as towering, powerful figures with immense strength. These giants, according to the tales, walked the island long before European contact. And if they truly existed, they would have been more than capable of carving, moving, and raising the colossal Moai, some of which weigh over 80 tons and stand nearly 10 meters tall. Think about this for a moment. Even today, with modern machinery, the task of moving such enormous blocks of stone across uneven terrain would be a daunting challenge. Yet the Rapa Nui people, with limited resources and no wheels, supposedly managed to transport these statues from quarries miles away to their platforms scattered across the island. To some, the idea seems almost impossible, unless, of course, there were giants. The legend goes further. Some stories claim that the Moai themselves were not dragged, but walked, moved upright, swaying step by step, guided by chants, rituals, or perhaps by the sheer force of supernatural beings. Could this be a metaphor for advanced techniques of movement, or an echo of a time when beings larger than life really roamed the island? Skeptics argue that these are simply myths, symbolic tales passed down through generations. Yet, intriguingly, giant legends are not unique to Easter Island. From the Nephilim of the Bible, to Norse frost giants, to the titans of Greek mythology, cultures around the world share stories of enormous beings that shaped the earth before humankind. Could the Moai legends be part of this broader pattern, hinting at something we no longer fully understand? There is, of course, no direct archaeological evidence of a race of giants on Rapa Nui. Excavations have revealed human remains of average size, tools used for carving, and pathways that suggest the statues were transported by clever engineering. That the power of the giant theory does not lie in physical proof, it lies in the questions it raises. Why would such a legend persist for centuries if it had no root in reality? Were the islanders trying to explain an extraordinary feat by attributing it to beings greater than themselves? Or were they passing down a memory of something long lost to history? The mystery remains unsolved. Perhaps the giants of Easter Island were never real. Or perhaps they were, hidden now by time, their legacy preserved only in stone and story. And when we stand before the Moai, gazing up at their immense, silent forms, it's hard not to wonder, were these statues created for giants, by giants, or were they themselves meant to be giants, frozen in stone for eternity? Theory 3. Lost technology of a forgotten civilization. Some mysteries do not need giants or gods to explain them. Instead, they hint at something perhaps even more unsettling, that ancient civilizations possessed knowledge and techniques that we have lost over time. When it comes to the Moai of Easter Island, this theory suggests that the Rapa Nui people, or a forgotten culture before them, had access to advanced technology that allowed them to carve, move, and raise these colossal statues with precision we still struggle to replicate today. Let's take a closer look. The largest Moai ever erected stands about 10 meters tall and weighs nearly 80 tons. In the quarry at Rano-Raraku, archaeologists discovered an unfinished statue twice that size, over 20 meters in length, estimated to weigh more than 160 tons. Moving a figure of that scale, across rough volcanic terrain, with no wheels, no beasts of burden, and limited wood, seems almost unimaginable, and yet, the Rapa Nui did it. Traditional explanations argue that ropes, wooden sledges, and sheer manpower were enough. But skeptics point out a glaring problem. Easter Island was largely deforested by the time many Moai were constructed. Without trees, how could they have made rollers or sledges strong enough to transport these massive stones? And even if they could, how did they avoid sinking into the soft volcanic soil? This is where the idea of lost technology emerges. Some believe the islanders may have discovered ingenious methods of leverage, balance, or even vibration-based movement that are no longer known to us. Others go further, proposing that the Moai were shaped and moved with tools or knowledge passed down from an earlier, advanced civilization, one that vanished long before written history. Think about it. Across the world, we find traces of similar mysteries. The perfectly fitted stones of Machu Picchu, the immense blocks of Baalbek in Lebanon, the pyramids of Egypt. Time and again, we see ancient people achieving feats of engineering that should have been impossible for their era. Could the Moai be part of this larger puzzle, a forgotten chapter of human knowledge that connects distant cultures across the globe? Of course, mainstream archaeology explains these achievements through human ingenuity, trial and error, and communal effort. And yet, the sense of mystery remains when we look at the unfinished Moai still lying in the quarry, massive, abandoned, as if waiting for hands that never returned. We are left with an unsettling question. Did the knowledge of how to move them simply vanish? Did the people lose a technology or a technique that had once defined their culture? If that's true, then the Moai are more than monuments. They are tombstones of knowledge, stone reminders of a genius that once existed, only to be lost forever. And that possibility may be the most haunting theory of all. Theory 4. Alien intervention. No list of shocking theories about the Moai would be complete without one of humanity's favorite explanations for the unexplainable: aliens. According to this theory, the Moai were not entirely the work of human hands. Instead, they are evidence of contact with beings from beyond our world, extraterrestrials who either guided, inspired, or directly helped the Rapa Nui people create these massive statues. The logic, for believers, is simple. How could a small, isolated population on a remote island, with limited resources, carve and transport nearly 1,000 colossal figures, some weighing over 80 tons? To them, the answer is that humans didn't do it alone. Supporters of this idea often point to the statue's exaggerated features: the elongated heads, the deep-set eyes, the solemn, almost otherworldly expressions. To some, the Moai resemble depictions of alien beings found in myths around the world. Were the statues representations of ancestral spirits? Or could they have been inspired by visitors from the stars, immortalized in stone? Then there is the question of movement. Some claim the Moai were not dragged across the island, but walked into place. While archaeologists demonstrate this could have been achieved with ropes and balance, those who favor the alien theory see something else: advanced knowledge, perhaps even anti-gravity or energy manipulation, gifted by otherworldly teachers. Skeptics, of course, dismiss this entirely. They argue that attributing the Moai to aliens underestimates the ingenuity of the Rapa Nui people, who develop creative and effective techniques to solve their challenges. But even skeptics must admit, the allure of the alien theory is powerful. After all, the Moai are not alone in this speculation. The pyramids of Egypt, the Nazca lines of Peru, the stone structures of Puma Punkual have inspired similar claims of extraterrestrial involvement. And so, the question lingers: why do we, as humans, often turn to the stars to explain the past? Is it because we underestimate ancient people? Or is it because, deep down, we sense that our world has been touched by something beyond us? Standing before the Moai, silent and immense, it's easy to see why this theory refuses to die. Their gaze is timeless, their presence otherworldly. And as the winds of Easter Island sweep across the statues, one cannot help but wonder: are we looking at monuments to our ancestors or messages left behind by visitors from the stars? Theory 5. A message written in stone. Some researchers believe the Moai are more than statues, they're messages. Silent records carved in stone to preserve knowledge too important to lose. The Rapa Nui were master navigators, crossing the Pacific with only the stars and currents as guides. This theory suggests the Moai may have been aligned with celestial events, acting as a kind of stone calendar to guide farming, fishing, and seafaring. Others think their differences in size and style were not random, but symbolic, portraits carrying codes of lineage, power, or even warnings. Perhaps they were reminders to respect the fragile balance of life on the island. The mystery deepens with Rongorongo, the island's undeciphered script. Some believe it could hold the key to understanding the true meaning of the Moai. But with most tablets destroyed, we may never fully unlock their secret. Maybe the statues were not only faces of stone, but words, messages we cannot read, yet still feel, carved for future generations. The Moai remain one of humanity's greatest enigmas. Were they ancestors, giants, lost technology, gifts from the stars, or coded messages? Perhaps the truth is a blend of all these ideas. What's certain is that the Moai still speak without words, but with presence, reminding us that the past is never silent. So which theory do you believe? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into history's mysteries, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss the next story. Until then, keep searching, because sometimes the greatest secrets are hidden in silence.